I am Vinnie Tortorich. Folks, your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean. And boy, when it comes to soft and succulent, the guy we have on today, well, he's been on the show before. And usually when I have guys on like this, the audience will say, man, I really can't relate to this guy. This guy is a world-class athlete. I'm just a schlub trying to lose weight. I can't relate to these people. But I wanted this guy back because I just read his book. I've known him for several years. As I said, he's been on the show several times. And I couldn't believe how relatable he is. And I didn't even know this because you only know what you know about a person, what they put out there on the internet. You know that he started several companies. You know that he went to the Olympics. You know that he lived through apartheid. I knew all the things about Oscar Chalupsky. But the things you didn't realize was the dirty parts, the parts that we don't see every day. And that's why I wanted this guy back on, because he's a come from behind story from the day he was born. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm actually shocked that he's on the other mic right now, because I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to ask him. I quite frankly did not think he would be living at the end of 2024. I did not. This man should have been dead a long time ago. The new book is called No Retreat, No Surrender. And that's the appropriate title for my good friend, Oscar Chalupsky.
He's the billionaire, Don.
Oh, geez. Wrong one. There we go. How's it going, Oscar?
Thank you very much for that introduction, Vinny. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you. And let me tell you, as you say, it was a touch and go. And if I listened to the doctors, it would be go. I'd be in a pine box and you'd be trying to interview me through the daisies, pushing up daisies.
Yeah.
4 weeks ago, they gave me no chance. Flew my brother out. Not one chance. They said it won't even last a day. Not a day. Yeah. And like I said, hey, but the difference is I feel strong and I'm mentally, I'm not ready to go anywhere. My kidneys failed and all this. And they said, no, you can't do that. I said, bullshit. I can tell you right now, I'm not going. And my platelets were at 2. My hemoglobin was like 3 or 4. So I couldn't fly. And my first goal was, and that's the thing in my life, is to set goals. I said, I want to die in South Africa. So yeah. I've got to do something about this. And it's interesting, doctors and people can be so negative. And I said to this doctor, he said, no, you've got no chance. I won't see you tomorrow or the next day. And I kept on seeing him. And I'd look at the results. And I said, listen, there's a 0.1%. This thing has changed 0.1%. There must be hope. Because I never gave up hope. And I never wanted to go because I've got a lot more to give the world. And as you say in the book, it changes your perspective of what I've done and how I try and help. And those life lessons or lessons learned, that's what life's about. And I've learned another lesson. There I was. This is the second time I've had the last rites, by the way. Second time. Wow. And I did it well. First time I did a 21-day fast. This time I just like concentrated and upped my folates and ate red meat and was very strict. And suddenly my platelets were back to 45 and I could fly. And I'm in South Africa. It's probably another miracle. As I say, this is a proper miracle. But again, you make your own miracles. Understand? In life, you make your own miracles. You make that positive impact. And then I appreciate all the support. Your fan base, my fan base. You need that support. Believe in me, you need it all the time. No matter how tough it is, you need support and you must help other people because they'll help you.
Oscar, you couldn't have said it better if you tried. You know, I watch American football, the real football, not that crap you played when you were a kid. And you know, when I was younger and I would watch football, if a team was up by, you know, a couple of touchdowns in the fourth quarter, I'd turn the television off and go, okay, it's over with, right? There's no way that they're going to come back. But you watch just the sheer tenacity of these athletes today. And you could be down by 2 touchdowns with 3 minutes left, and these guys will come back and win. You know, those are ridiculous odds, just ridiculous odds. But I don't turn these games off anymore. But last night, we're recording this on the 8th. On the 7th, I was watching Thursday Night Football, Ravens versus whoever. And the Ravens were down. And I was pulling for the Ravens, right? And I said, you know what? It's not looking good. This kid from Cincinnati who played for LSU, there's no way they're going to come back. He's spot on. But I kept going, the Ravens quarterback is running this game like it's a machine also. They just had a couple of bad luck moves and the whole thing and came back at the end and won, right? In the final seconds.
That's exactly right.
They're reading you your rights, right? The doctor's coming in going, Oscar, look, the doctor, the priest comes in, you're done. I'm sure Claire's sitting there crying and the whole thing. And now you're laughing. You're on my show. You're smiling. You're laughing. And that's the reason everyone should read this book. Now, folks, I listened to it on audio, and I'm going to tell you, get the audio. Just get the audio. Go to Audible, download it, get it. Now, here's the deal. At the end of every chapter, the guy who is reading the book comes on and talks to Oscar for, I don't know, sometimes 45 seconds, sometimes a minute and a half to do a recap of each chapter. I love that. I also loved your guys, whoever did your book, Oscar, did an amazing job. If they were talking about the ocean, they put ocean noises in there. Like you literally ended up in the ocean with Oscar, right? And you can hear the seagulls and the whole thing. And if I'm going to do, Oscar, I'm going to say something bad about your book. If you're not an athlete, just get through the first couple of chapters. You're going to go, oh, wait, this guy's just bragging about how good he was. The reason he's bragging is because he's that good. He was a champion at an age when no one could be a champion. If that kind of thing turns you off, don't let that turn you off, because when you hear about the adversity that this human being has gone through, Oscar, I'm going to be honest with you. There were points when I was out cutting my grass, tears in my eyes. One day I was listening to it on my spinner. I found myself saying, oh, it must be dusty in here. I start welling up. It's a come from behind story that, we watch Rocky. That's fictitious, but we watch it and we love Rocky. We watch Vision Quest. We watch all these great come from behind movies, Disney movies. When you read this, you're going to sit there and go, how is this man still standing up? Now, Oscar, a lot of people don't even know who you are. So we have to brag a little bit about you right here. At a very young age, you and your dad and your brother started building Chalupsky kayaks over in South Africa. And turns out your dad, you and your brother were all great kayakers. I mean, you're making the boats, you're out there in the boats. And the sport you're in is such a fringe sport that most of the world don't know what it is. I know what it is because I'm an enthusiast. One of my friends online, Dave Dolak, is known as Dave the Kayaker. We're going to be out in our kayaks tomorrow. Right? We're going to go out there, flat water, and we're going to go do it. I just built a kayak. I don't know if you know this. We have that.
Yeah, I saw it. If you see the word strip kayak, I saw that. Well done.
Yeah, it was one of Nick Schott's designs, and I built it with a guy named Joey Schott, who opened up his facility to me and literally showed every step of the way. Joey was right next to me, 320 hours.
Oh,
you could not make a living if you started making cedar strip kayaks.
Well, I didn't make much living when I was making my kayaks either, myself.
So, I love kayaks. I love being in them. I love being around them. I love looking at them. And, I'm watching this, and folks, what they're doing, these sea kayak races, where they're offshore, where they're riding out the waves and just catching these big swells. They don't even call them kayaks. They call them surf skis. Right? They're surfing, they're on a ski and they're surfing from one swell to the next, and they're hauling ass. If you ever want to go watch the greatest in the world, go online, go to YouTube, put in Oscar Chalupsky and just watch and be amazed. And you're going to sit there going, wait a minute, I need to get to an ocean. I need to get one of these things, and I need to get into the sport. That's all I can say about that. Oscar, 15, 16 years old, you're winning championships in South Africa. Speak to that for a minute. I mean, your dad is a great kayaker. We know you have the genes, genetics. Your brother is like your closest competition, but you start beating the adults. Go.
Yeah, so my whole story started. I mean, I did all sports. I'm one of those people, Vinnie, that I always want to win at everything, whether it's tiddlywinks or snooker, and I put the effort in. Okay, you understand? There's no winning without effort. There's sacrifices to make effort. And at the age of 14, I'm racing against 30 and 35-year-olds. I win the junior and senior Ironman, which is basically the Ironman is paddling, swimming, running, and I win that back to back in my province, in my state, and then I win it in South Africa, and that happens at an age of 15. So it's unheard of. It's the first person in the world, and interesting enough, a guy called Grant Kenny in Australia won it 1 month later, but in Australia he became a superhero because it's not a fringe sport. It's actually the biggest sport in Australia, lifesaving.
Yeah.
And understand the races I was doing. I was doing 240 kilometers, 118-mile races. I won that race. Also at 15, I came second in this 250-kilometer race against all old people. And I was 15, 14. Then at 16, I won it in a single against, again, people that are much older. So understand this. I was very driven, but I looked up to these people and I beat them. So what happens is that this guy, Grant Kenny from Australia, who won the junior and senior Ironman, because of apartheid, and we mentioned earlier on, I couldn't race against him. I tried to get to Australia. He tried to come in. I wanted to see who's the best paddler in the world.
Right.
And in 1983, at the age of 20, I hear about this race in Hawaii called the Molokai to Oahu. It's 32 miles, open ocean, 20 to 30-foot waves, 30 to 40 knot winds. And Grant Kenny has won this race 4 years in a row. 4 years in a row. And he's coming. And again, you don't know. I'm in apartheid. I don't even know how good I am. And I was in Hawaii in April and I had to make a decision. I was sleeping on the floor. I was sleeping on a guy's Bob Toogood's floor, and you must have read about that. And I went and trained hard. I mean, there's no shortcuts. You have to train hard. I trained hard, and the race was in October. I still never met Grant Kenny until the race started.
Well, let me butt in there. You mentioned you show up and you have some disappointment going on because you're looking around for Grant Kenny and he's nowhere. He's like big timing all of you guys. He's not even showing up and no one really knows if he's there. You have to ask someone, is Grant Kenny and what the audience needs to know is a lot of kids today don't really understand what apartheid was, right? You guys were blocked off from the rest of the world. The whole world said South Africa, no Olympics, no World Championships. As long as it's, some kids today know who they've heard the name Nelson Mandela, but they don't realize what kind of hero that guy was. And the guy spent 30 something years in jail.
27 years. 27 years in Robben Island, just behind me.
Just what happened with apartheid, all the soccer, everything. You guys couldn't compete in anything. And the rest of the world looked down on South Africa. And there were a lot of people, I just want to clear this up. There were a lot of people in South Africa, whites, who did not want apartheid to continue. And right? Nobody wanted apartheid. It was a political stance that the whites and the blacks, basically, you tell me, because I'm a dumb American. No one agreed on it, right? Like the whites didn't want it either.
No, I mean, nobody actually wanted it, but it was like this way of operating, and it came in, and I can't even remember the dates, but it was a shocking thing. And again, because I was so young, I mean, I didn't know about apartheid, but I didn't care. I didn't care the color of your skin, whether I competed against you. So funny enough, in most sports, there was no apartheid, but the rules were there, so you couldn't. And then while we had apartheid, and while Nelson Mandela was in prison, we couldn't compete anywhere in South Africa. So you had to sneak around and there were rebel tours, what they call rebel tours. So I would compete for for Belgium, and they let you in, So obviously, there's always going to be kind people that are trying to help you. But I never competed against anybody in the world stage. I always had to go back door and all this, and I couldn't compete. So that's why the opportunity, and I've got a German passport, was this Hawaiian race against Grant Kenny, and I couldn't go there. I could never go there, and he couldn't come to South Africa.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy. See, you were fighting political strife, number one, and you just mentioned it, you just let it slide by, but I'm going to bring it back up. You're in Hawaii sleeping on someone's floor. You have no money. You're broke, and you're finding out ways to get to Hawaii, to this Molokai, because you knew the best man in the world from Australia was showing up. You spend every dime you have. Is that when did you sell a car or?
Yes, I had to sell my kayak to fix the car that I crashed.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was like, and you guys, you shipped the kayak, it showed up all crashed up, all kinds of things happen, but you don't care. All you care about is this guy is the best in the world. I'm going to compare you to Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, I can't remember who he had a fight with, but he finally had a fight with this guy. He ended up beating the guy, but he literally said, when this guy punched me, I felt like a mule was kicking me in the face. And Mike Tyson barely beat this man. I wish I can remember boxing terms as well as I can remember other things. But Mike Tyson, like most people would say, screw it, I'm never going in a ring with that guy again. Mike Tyson said, I need to see this guy in 6 months in the ring. I need to go at him again because this guy is the best in the world. And even though I beat him, I don't feel like I really beat him. That's you and Grant Kenny at this point. And how old are you? Are you 16 at this point?
No, I was 20. We were both 20. He's 1 month
so 4 years later.
So he started at 16. So he won 4 in a row at 16. So he was a phenomenal. So he's a phenomenal athlete. So, and I didn't know how good how good is that? He wins the world championship 4 years in a row, and then here comes this guy is 1 month older than him, doesn't know him from a bar of soap. He never even knew that I was after his blood because I knew him and he never knew me. He was the king of the castle. So, and I was just this South African guy in apartheid South Africa. Nobody even comments about it. Nobody even knew what I'd done.
Do you think that helped you in a race, in that particular race, that he had no idea who you were? You're just this fair-haired kid coming from South Africa?
I don't think so, because end of the day, we're athletes and we train like anything to win, and we always prepared, and you never know who's going to be there, and that's in life, don't know who's going to rock up. And interesting thing is that the only time I eventually saw him was on the start line in Molokai Island, and then I saw him and I just said hello, and he's a little bit shorter than me, and then again, like in life, and I mention this all the time, is that you've got to follow a person that's already been there. You've got to look at the experience. So Molokai, if you know, it's 32 miles, so you can't see the other Oahu, and after an hour and a half, you can see Oahu. So then you know where you're sort of going. Otherwise, you at the mercy of your escort boat. Everybody has to have an escort boat because it's so rough. You fall off, you die.
Right.
So I went neck and neck with him, just watching him, and then after like 1.5 hours, 2 hours, I could see Oahu, see Diamond Head, I could see Coco Head, and I thought, okay, let's see how good this guy is. Yeah. And again, you're taking as I say, it's a gamble, but I was so confident. I did all the training and I felt strong, and off I went. And understand, in our sport, it's not like running. You can see the guy next to you. I mean, the waves are so big that you don't even see. If you're 50 or 100 yards away, you don't see anybody because the waves are 20 feet.
Yeah, I've been out in the Pacific Ocean a lot, and when you're out there, you don't exist, right? You can't see anything. I don't know if you remember back, I want to say it was Lillehammer for the 4 times 10,000 cross-country race, where the locals, it's for the Olympics, the locals were supposed to kick ass. They had the best skiers in the world and the whole thing. And this unsung Italian team comes along and steals the gold away from, I want to say, the Norwegians or whoever it was. Yeah. So you remember as well as I do. And the one thing the Italians did was they never took they just stayed on the heels. They drafted the whole time. And people said, well, they should have taken some pulls from the front and this and that and the whole thing. And now I'm hearing you tell the story, and my mind goes right back to Lillehammer. I have that crazy mind where I remember weird events, and it seems like you do too. So when you see Malachi, do you just go, bye-bye, fuck it, Grant, it's been nice knowing you? And do you feel weird by taking that lead, going, maybe he knows something I don't know? Maybe there's a draft win that's going to come up from Malachi. Maybe the swells won't be the same. Maybe I'm taking the wrong angle as I come into whichever lagoon I'm coming in. All kinds of things can happen. What gave you the balls to go, you know what, I need to break from this guy now?
Yeah, I mean, I just felt confident. And then when I was going neck and neck with him and I was surfing with him, I was so comfortable. And I was comfortable because I started concentrating on my technique. And then when I could see where I was going, I knew this is it. I think I am better than this guy. I worked it out for the first 1.5 hours, but he wouldn't have known. He would have thought I was just like keeping up with him and he's going well. And then when I took off, and I took off properly and really gave it my all. And obviously when you finished, I came around a Cocoa Head, and then you go, it's like going up Heartbreak Hill in the Boston Marathon, straight into the wind for 1.5 miles, straight into this wind. And you don't know where. You hope that you get to the beach and there's no Grant Kenny there. So when I turned around, got to the beach, I actually beat him by nearly 15 minutes, which is an hour sport, nearly 3 kilometers. So I really did beat him by a long way. And of course, like most people, and I always say this in life, in life, when you win, there's no excuse column. When you come second, there's always an excuse column. And you have to have it, say, oh, why did I win? And he said, no, he was training for the Olympics. We got a bronze anyway. But he said he wasn't fit enough for this race. He wasn't quite concentrating on it. But he came back a lot of times, and he never, ever beat me, ever. So I went from that. I won 7 of those races in a row till I got banned again. This time I got banned. They wouldn't let me. So I got 7 in a row. I won 7 in a row, and I would have just carried on winning. And they banned me. I got the call. Said, no, we know you train in South Africa. The U.S. Olympic Committee says you can't train in South Africa. You can do nothing. So in 1989, I was banned.
So so let me get this straight. You had a German passport. You were going under some other country, but because of the water that was beneath your surf ski, you weren't allowed to race.
Yeah, the water. Because I was training in South Africa, it says you're not allowed to race.
Unbelievable. That is the most. You didn't put that in the book. Did you put that in the book?
It's in there. You have to read it the second time, Vinnie.
Listen, I'm picking out stuff that you wouldn't believe I could pick out because I
know, I'm impressed.
I listen when I don't speed it up. I listen to it in real time. I miss that part that, they didn't let you back for the 8th time. Okay. So then when is your first Olympic? Like, when do you finally get to go to the Olympics?
So the story is quite interesting. So, and so this is 1989. So I get banned. They said, no, you can't race. So what do you do? I'm becoming quite famous in South Africa, beating everybody in the world. And people are coming from all over the place. And I'm winning, and I keep winning by a long way. And then they said, no, you're not allowed. So, and you're not allowed to compete anywhere in the world. So I said, okay, I'll take up golf. So that's when I took up golf. So I went from 24 to a scratch in 1 year. And I was this close to become a professional golfer because I had the richest man in South Africa, a guy called Graham Beck, who was going to sponsor me to go to Dave Ledbetter, who's in Florida, the best golf coach in the world. And what happened? 2 days before I was going to do a sort of a match, I had to break par to become a pro. His mother died and all bets were off. But as 1991, interesting what happened. In 1991, Nelson Mandela was released.
That's right.
And when that happened, when Nelson was released, I said, okay, boys, I am going to the Olympics. So I went from long distance paddler, golfer, and you get fat when you're playing golf because you don't do too much exercise, and then sprinter. And a sprinter is 1,000 meters. And I said, I'm going to the Olympics. And again, like anything, I don't go to participate, Vinnie. I go to win.
All right, let me cut you off right there. Give the audience your height and say it in feet. Don't say it in centimeters.
6'3.5".
All right, so you're a tall man. You're gaining weight when you're playing golf. And we're going to talk about weight and keto diet later on, because I know that later on You do that, but we're back in the early 1990s. Nelson, I'll never forget when they let him out. It was on television, wall to wall here in the United States, and you make a decree. I guess you're going to go to the 94 games,
92.
92, and you make a decree. I'm fat. I'm playing golf. I'm getting back in a kayak, but this is flat water. This is not sea kayaking. So you're getting in a K1.
Correct.
Right. And folks, a K1, let me see if I can explain this to you in ways you can understand. They weigh nothing. It's just a shell. These things it's like a leaf skipping across the water. Just like with the sea kayak, there's no chine on it, meaning there's no bank on either side. If your paddle is not in the water as an outrigger, you're flipping over, pretty much. And when you're 6'3" and fat, you don't have much of a chance of getting it. It's kind of like trying to get Cinderella, finding who's going to fit that slipper. These things are tight. They're very tight. Oscar, how do you get your 6'3" fat ass into a K1? I need to know. Butter? Do you use butter? How do you get in?
Some Vaseline, all that kind of stuff. You have to. I mean, understand these things are so narrow. And basically, it's a 32 waist. If you've got a bigger than a 32 waist, you don't fit in the seat.
Yeah.
And it's so unstable, not many people can sit in it. I mean, again, obviously, I've been born into a kayak. But again, you have, again, I had to make Safra. I lost probably 20 kilos before trying to make the Olympic team. And again, that was the difference. I didn't just make the team. I was the captain of the whole team because I was the only guy that was doing international races and renowned for it. So I met Nelson Mandela, who sacrificed his life 27 years and really enjoyed it. And I was the spokesperson for the 1992 Olympic thing. And then I went there. And again, we trained hard. Believe me, I can't say I didn't train hard, but I didn't know. You understand your opposition determines how good you are, and we weren't competing against anybody. So we didn't participate in the world champs and junior world. I didn't even know where I was coming. And when we went there, I got my ass kicked like you can't. Became Norman, nowhere.
Yeah.
But I learned. I said, hey, this is not going to happen ever again. I'm not going to go to the Olympics and get completely slaughtered. And funny enough, the guy who won the 1,000-meter K1 was a guy called Clint Robinson from Australia, not Grant Kenny, because he's a bit older. And this guy, Clint Robinson, is probably 10 or 12 years younger. And at age 20, and I was already probably 32, 33, he won the gold medal. But I'd already raced him in Hawaii, and I beaten him easily. And I said, how does this happen?
That's in the swells with downwind versus flat water. You might as well say one sport is done on a bicycle and the other one's done on a tricycle. It's two different sports.
Vinnie, is that Clint Robinson came from the ocean and became the Olympic gold medalist. So
yeah, but I'm guessing he didn't come. Look, folks, Americans don't understand kilos. He lost 20 kilos. That's 45 pounds. I always did it. I'm good at the translation because I've been in sports my whole life. That's 45 pounds. So you're losing weight. You're training your ass off. But you have less than a year. You were on a golf course for a year. These guys were paddling, right? That's the difference.
All the time. Yeah, that was the big difference. And when we made the semifinal. It was actually embarrassing. Came back, but I always say, in adversity, you've got to learn. You've got to sum up what happened there. I said, no, this is not going to happen to me again, and it never did. So I came nowhere, but I went to the Olympics, and I didn't put any tattoos on me that I went to the Olympics because I'm not a tattoo man anyway, and I'm only looking for gold. I'm not looking for anything else. And the only thing I got was brown nothing.
So you don't do anything at the Olympics, but you don't get discouraged.
No. There's something wrong. There's something wrong here. Because what happened there, and this is what, and you know that old story, gut feel. So what happened was I had too many other outside coaches where I know you and me know your body better than anybody.
Right.
No, I'm going to change this. I'm going to use technique because I'm getting older, so I've got to be wiser. And I always say this, Vinnie, we're all getting older. But the one thing we actually can do, if listening to you, you can get wiser. Educate yourself all the time, and you can get wiser. So you can get cleverer as you get older. But so many people just vegetate. And did so many things. I did so much research, and I worked on my technique. So from 1992, I started winning everything. And as my 12th Molokai at age 49, that's impossible. You take Djokovic, he's 37. You even take Manning and all these guys, they're 40. Try at 49. Try and win.
Yeah, it's impossible. You look at Brady, the Mannings. I coached some of the Manning kids in high school.
Yeah.
It's impossible to be at the world-class level going into your 50th birthday. By the way, you and I are exactly the same age. I'm 62. I can't remember. I'm
turning 62 on the 1st of March. So I think you're born in 62 and I'm born in 63, I think.
Yeah. I'm born in, my birthday just went past, in September. So we grew up on the same music and the whole deal. And
exactly,
even in 1992, you're like 31, 32 years old at that point, going into the Olympics, starting your Olympic career, right? Yeah. That's usually, look at the greatest gymnast ever, this girl from the United States. I mean, she's 27 and she's done.
It's right? Simone Biles, yes, yeah, exactly.
When you think of the greatest Olympic athletes ever, and you're in an aerobic sport, right? That's just unheard of, right? And you're coming off the golf course, you lose 45 pounds, you get in a boat, and you get there and go, hey, all I got handed for a medal was shit, which,
exactly.
But you don't lose again after that. I want to cross from that, and I want to go into how you paid for this. But before we do that, I need to pay a bill here by telling people Villa Capelli olive oil is the greatest olive oil on the planet. Why do I say that? Well, because they send me a whopping check every month. Villa Capelli has been sponsoring this show for almost 12 years now. Here's the deal. There are a lot of good olive oils out there in the United States, but good luck finding it. You're going to have to go to some hoity-toity wine and cheese store where you're going to pay a shit ton of money for 350 milliliters of this stuff. Villa Capelli is selling the real stuff from Puglia, Italy. Get yourself a 3-liter 10. Do yourself a favor. Get that big 10. I use olive oil every day. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell a little kayak story with olive oil. One of the things I would do when I was out in the Pacific Ocean paddling around, I noticed that I would get low energy at some point after being out there for hours. I bought these little 2-ounce vials, glass vials on Amazon. I would fill them up with Villa Capelli, sprinkle a little salt in there, screw them back together, and stick them right into my life vest. And whenever I got tired and got hungry, I would just whip one of those out, suck it down. I was actually running on oil, just like a diesel engine. True story. I've told that story before on this podcast. It's just amazing. Villa Capelli olive oil is 100% oil, is not cut. Go to Villa Capelli or to VinnieTortorich.com and click through the banner. Either way, when you get to checkout, put in promo code Vinnie, VINNIE, no wimpy Y, and you'll get 10% off every single time. If you spend more than $125 after the discount, they will also give you free shipping. So 2 ways to save at Villa Capelli. We're talking to what should be the late, great Oscar Chalupsky, but he's still the great Oscar Chalupsky. Oscar, you're not just some narcissistic athlete who's chasing gold medals. At some point, you fall in love with Claire and you start realizing, shit, I got to make a living. I got to somehow put bread on the table. And on top of that, you have kids on the way. Let's get into that a bit. How do you meet Claire? And by the way, the book should have been called Why in the Fuck is Claire Still Around? Because it almost makes no sense, right?
And she's still around, and she's still my rock and my basically my confidant. I mean, so I met Claire at a she says after a water polo match. I say after a pajama party, which is we used to have in South Africa, and met her, and then as I say, we went out for 5 years. So we've been together 41 years, and we've been married for 36 years, and she's been a rock, So what we decided in our relationship, and again, this is very important, and it comes through in the book, is that relationships are tough. The relationships are like business partners. They're tough. They're going to have good times and bad times, but you have to know your parameters. So she will never tie a surfski on, and I'll never cook. So when she says, no, I'm not tying anything. You can stand on your head. She'll never tie. After time, I said, okay. And I said, okay, I'm not going to be cooking and you cooking. So we've got our roles and we've stuck to them, and we all, and we stuck through thick and thin. And understand this. She came from semi-royalty. I mean, her grandfather met the Queen, the past Queen. So she's an Ellis Brown, which is, if you go look it up, even there's a bridge named after her, Ellis Brown Viaduct in Durban. So she was fairly used to the good life. And again, aren't we all trying to get used to the good life? So when I met her, I was a car salesman. Then I lost that job, and then I went into investments. Before that, I was a lifeguard, then a car salesman. So understand that I've never been a professional athlete, ever. I had to work. And that's why every one of your listeners can relate. I had to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, just like you, to do my exercise, then go to work, then more exercise, then spend time with family and friends and children, because you can't just let it go, because life's about a balance, but that balance changes all the time. When your kids are young, you got to spend time there feeding them and all that. And as they grow up, then you're going to go and watch them. So you've got to have this balance in life, and you've got to keep that balance going, and it changes all the time. And I started a lot of successful business because I'm an entrepreneur by nature. So I started my insurance company, and eventually that sold out. And it's the insurance company that I started is still going. It's called Citadel. And then the kayak company I started, Epic Kayaks, is still going. So all these companies that I started, but I had to do this. So I had to plan. And that's something for all your listeners to realize, that you cannot achieve anything if you haven't got a plan. I can tell you got no chance, because you've got to say, hey, I've got 4 o'clock. I mean, sometimes I was waking up at 3:30 in the morning to go training because I had an appointment at 8 o'clock. And you've got to do that. I'm not a Djokovic or a Federer. And you can't relate to them. You're not going to be at the Olympic final. I'm not going to. So how do I relate to this guy? He wakes up, somebody's cooking him this, and he hits a tennis ball every time to make millions.
Yeah.
I just had to, my sport was my passion that I really wanted to do well at. And my work was my work. So I could play the sport and look after my kids who went to private schools, everything but the best. So you have to make sacrifices in 3 or 4 different disciplines. Sport, we got one. Family, and another one. Then health, because understand, if you do too much, you're going down, and you know this from all your health podcasts. And then you've got to again help other people. So that was your life. So you had to fit that all in. And no time that I ever wake up and say, okay, I just can paddle today. Not once. And that's why people should be able to relate to me so well. I've done the early mornings. I've done the late nights. I've done the flying around the world to go there. And on a shoestring, I used to do this. I said, hey, I'm going to the Monaco game. I'm going to try and win. And this is like the 10th one. And you know what I'll do? I know times are tough. I will pay my own way there. But if I win, you pay me back.
Yeah.
I mean, people do that.
Well, Oscar, every time I get you on, you and I have so many similarities, right? We both started being athletes when we were young, right? We figured out we were good at one thing and decided to pursue it and to go with it and to pursue it doggedly. So I went, okay, yeah, whenever you talk about weighting your boat down and not even telling your friends when you're training, you're adding weight to your boat, and they don't even know it. And I was thinking of all the things I do like that, where I would my good friend in life now, we climb mountains together. He always says I'm sneaky. And it's like, I'm not sneaky. If you ask me, I'll tell you what I'm doing, but I'm not the kind of guy who does a workout and then go put it on Facebook, right? It's like, I don't have time for that. He goes, you're sneaky. You do all these things and you don't say it. It's like, ask me, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. So I thought you and I was like, yeah, Oscar's like I am. He figures out ways to make it tough on himself in training. He figures out ways to be a good businessman. But there's something else that you and I have. And I think both of us were able to sleep easy because of this, but it doesn't really get us ahead in life. You tell a story of when you first got an insurance and you were selling insurance and you got this big client and you sold this thing and you got this huge commission. right? And you didn't feel comfortable about that commission. You thought it was too big. As a matter of fact, my wife, who's British, she's an actress, and to support her acting career, she would sell real estate. And sometimes she would get a big commission and she felt guilty about the commission. You felt guilty about the commission and literally went back to the guy and said, this policy or whatever is not worth it. I want to do better by you. Even though I gave you the policy you wanted, I got this huge commission. I don't feel right about this. And I went, son of a bitch. We're the same in that respect too, where we never feel like when we get something we didn't deserve, we want to hand it back. Is that about right? Can you tell that story? Because it was the most amazing story in the book.
The commission was so much. And again, I wasn't helping the client because that sort of change. And again, it's these small events that change your life forever. And I realized, listen, if you look after your clients in insurance and in business, they will always look after you. The customer must be right, and you got to look after him. Don't worry about the money. In fact, I became the top salesman of an insurance policy where there was no commission. The people said, "Are you crazy?" I said, "No, but I'm helping these people. I'm giving them what's best for them." And some of those clients, and 99% of those clients, are still to my friend now, 50 years later, because I never, ever looked after myself. I looked after them, and they look after me. Having said that, I was too loyal. I mean, all these businesses, I was just too loyal. I would never, I would just blind faith go with business where lots of people would look after themselves. I want to look after everybody else. And it is the shortcoming, and it's cost me a lot of money. But I sleep at night. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I do it. I don't need to write it on paper. I don't need it. I shake my hand with you. It's a done deal. And again, it's not like that. There are so many people that are trying to catch you all the time. And again, so what? So I've lost some and won some, but the bottom line is I can sleep at night every single night with every single one of my clients. I've never had a problem. And I think that's what you are alluding to, is that, and that's what I did. So I built up these practices. I built up all these businesses, but I mean, I should have been a lot wealthier than I am, but I've enjoyed life and I can sleep at night anytime. And I know every person that's been in contact with me, and there's lots of them around the world, respect what I did for them. And they still respect it now, 30 or 40 or 50 years later.
Yeah, you tell the story of Nilo Kayaks that you started. You're the brainchild behind Nilo Kayaks. I'm sorry, not Nilo. Epic, because now you're with Nilo now.
Yeah.
So you started Epic Kayaks, and you're doing this business in China and all this stuff. And you and I, again, I'm listening to this book, and I told Serena, I said, you gotta hear this book. This is what happened to you at Epic is what I'm going through right now. I don't know if you noticed, I own a vitamin company here in the United States.
Yeah, I heard that, yes.
And the vitamin company has been going on for 10 years, and it runs, my commitment is to sell 100% clean products. We test everything that comes off the line, and it's my commitment in the vitamin company. And the company has been doing incredibly well for all these years. And then we started having supply chain breaks because of COVID and all kinds of things started happening where we couldn't get the product. So my deal was, if I can't get the right products to make my formulas, I would rather not sell something substandard to my customers, because my commitment was. But in the meantime, I had people working for me who were not being honest with the customers. I was trying to be honest with my customers, and they weren't answering emails and phone calls and everything else. So I had to go through firing people, which one of them was my best friend in life, right? And I had to fire him because they weren't holding up to whatever. And so I'm walking through the fire right now. You know what it's like walking through that fire, right? When you have to do things that are unsettling. And you said something in the book, and it was like a lightning bolt went through my heart, because I stopped taking a salary from that company a long time ago to put all of my salary back into the vitamins. Yet no one else was doing that, right?
I did the same thing at Epic, yeah.
And that's when the lightning bolt just went through me. I went, son of a bitch, here we are again. We're not just cancer brothers. I just went through cancer again. And, it's like he had to deal with at Epic what I'm dealing with right now. And he lived through it and he came out the other side. And now he's with Nilo over at Nilo Kayaks. And it all works out in the end, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You got to make it work. You got to make it work because it can go down the wrong way as well. You can go down the wrong way. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not easy. None of it is ever easy. And when I saw that, I went, wow, this guy, he's been there. And I know you could come out the other side. So let's get into just a little bit your health.
You haven't actually got the book. So there's the actual.
Yeah, I mentioned it at the top of the show. There it is again. No retreat, no surrender.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about it at the end. I'm gonna make sure that it's in the Vinnie Book Club, and we're gonna make sure that people go right to and buy it over at Amazon and on Nook and Kindle, wherever else they want. Audible. But you go through all these health crises. So the first time you find out you have cancer, right? You're given a death sentence. What year was that and what happened?
So that happened on the 25th of November, 2019. The reason why I can remember that date so vividly is the 26th of November, I had organized a surprise 60th birthday for my wife, 26th of November, 2019. She was turning 60. And I'd organized this fancy place, and I was sitting in my house in Portugal, and the phone call came, and they said, okay, that tumor in your spine, that's malignant. You've got no chance. And I phoned my mate in America, Eric Borgness. He said, no, well, probably 6 months. You've got 6 months. And I said, no way. I'm feeling too good. I'm feeling too strong. There's no way. But he said, and I think this is important for all cancer patients to realize, is go to where you've got the most support. And I had more support in South Africa, so I flew back to South Africa. And then I got given the diagnosis of multiple myeloma, bone marrow cancer, which is actually one of the very few incurable cancers. So it was a tough pill to swallow, but I still didn't swallow it, and I still didn't believe that it was going to kill me so quickly. So I had a stem cell transplant. I was in such pain. I used to sleep standing up because I had a tumor pushing onto my spinal cord. So it was in such pain. Then I was on morphine. And they radiated my tumor and eventually got small enough. So on the 25th of December, so a month later, the pain was gone and I went off my morphine, no problem. And then I started fighting the battle. So I had a stem cell transplant, which is a bone marrow transplant. And then I was all good. Until November last year. Suddenly it came back with a vengeance. They gave me, again, the priest was there, giving me the last ride, and they said, you're out. And I said, I'm not out. I'm not tapping out. I'm not going anywhere. And that's when I did a 21-day fast. I mean, I've been doing keto since the 2012 when I won my Molokai at age 49. I've been doing keto, and then I just went radical. I said, there's only way I'm going to kill this cancer. And in 21 days of fasting, I took the number from 1,470 to 100 in 21 days. So it shows you. And again, so yes, you have to have some chemo, but at the end of the day, I can tell you right now, your body's a temple and knows how to fight things. But you have to have the commitment to do 21 days. People say, oh, you're crazy. I said, no, I'm not crazy. Saved my life. And it saved my life. And I went on a new drug, and then I was same thing again 4 weeks ago. Same old place again.
I want to be very clear, folks. Oscar didn't forego drugs just to do a fast. He did everything. He took the medication, he took the chemo, and he did the fast. And whenever I have people like Dr. Seyfried on the show, he will say, yeah, he's an incredible man. He will tell you, listen, you don't just do this. You also, you need the medicine. So people call me all the time and they go, hey, you beat cancer. It's like, yeah. I've beaten it twice, but I also took chemo twice. And it really fucks with you. I noticed that you still have the puffy face right?
Well, that's just from the steroids now.
The steroids that they're giving you. Yeah. And
I'm going to get rid of that quickly. It doesn't look good. Doesn't suit.
No, you look sexy to me, you know. But the bottom line is when I saw you, I went, yeah, he's on the drugs, right? He's on steroids right now, and that pumps you, it puffs you get puffy. But he's doing everything, folks. He's not just doing one either or. He's doing both, and that's the key. You know, I know two people that had glioblastomas. One of the guys, one of the wealthiest human beings I'd ever known. Well, that's a close friend. The guy's worth $1 billion. And no, it wasn't my friend Don Coddington. It wasn't this guy.
Billionaire Don Coddington's Friday.
But my friend had a glioblastoma and went on all of the experimental drugs, did everything. And every time I went to his house to visit him, he had cakes and candies and this and that and the whole thing. And I kept saying his name was Len. I said, Len, what are you doing? The doctors told me it doesn't matter. Eat whatever you want, the whole thing. Len spent $14 million giving Cedars-Sinai a lot of money to put him on every experimental drug, gave him money for a wing of their hospital. He was dead inside of 4 months. They gave him 6 months. He was dead in 4. My friend Brian Bishop, the book Shrinkage, go check it out. Same hospital, same doctors, same glioblastoma. They gave him 6 months to live. He's the longest living person with glioblastoma at over 12 years. So it ain't over until it's over. You have to do everything.
Yeah. And you can't eat cakes. That's the worst thing for cancer.
Yeah, cancer will feed on sugar. We know that now, right? So, Oscar, you said just a few days ago they came in and read your last rites again. What was that all about? You look great today.
Exactly. I mean, so what happened was I was on this drug, which was costing $32,000 a month. 32,000. Thank goodness I wasn't paying. The Portuguese National Health was paying. And that lasted, and I was like, perfect. And it was the strangest thing. So I was flying to England, which is just across the road from Porto. And I went to go and have my chemo, which was a thing called carfilzomib, because I was on a trial. I could either get carfilzomib or teclistamab. So I got carfilzomib, which I think wasn't. I wanted teclistamab because all my friends around the world said teclistamab is the best. So I was going along, and it was absolutely fine. Playing golf, training, back, everything, all good. And then suddenly I'm going to my test, and then I'm flying to London after having my chemo. And they said, no, we can't do your chemo because your markers are not good enough to have chemo, which happens and sometimes, never happened to me before. So I went to England, saw my daughter Hannah there, had a nice time, played nice, good golf, came back, and the next day I got up from the lunch table and I couldn't walk 5 meters.
Oof.
And I was straight into the hospital, and they said, no, you've got kidney failure, you've got this failure, your multiple myeloma is through the roof, you got no chance, especially with kidney failure, as you know a lot of people think. And so I was going through each hospital thing, and eventually I was in this isolation ward, and my brother was flown out from South Africa because the doctor said, no, it's no chance. So he was there sitting when the priest arrived and said, okay, here's your last rites. And I said, no, I'm not going anywhere. And again, it's just a mental thing. And the big thing is the doctors always said, no, you'll last. How long can I last? He said, 2 or 3 days. And this is in front of Claire and Herman, my brother.
Yeah.
And then and you sort of want to surrender. Then I said, no, I'm not surrendering. No, I don't believe this. I don't believe. So when you're sleeping, and because my kidneys have failed, so you can only sleep sitting up.
Right.
Because your kidneys have failed. And then I was on morphine, and then I had a morphine drip and a morphine into my stomach. And I'd have that, and then I was fine. But I still slept straight up. And I said, no way. And then as soon as I can, within 2 weeks, I started going off the morphine, and then eventually I had no morphine. And then I said, I'll just sleep standing up because I wanted to get off the pain medication. Because if there's pain, there's something wrong. Right. And again, I'm no pain. My numbers look fairly good. I mean, I will start this new drug called teclistamab, and then I'm going to do a GoFundMe for the balance. It's a fund going to be run by my friend, who will pay all the medical bills from my fans and my supporters and the helpers, and maybe $10. You see, because there's no admin fee, nothing. He's doing it for free just to keep me alive, because it's going to cost between $6,000 a month to $12,000 a month that I have to pay, and I've got insurance, still with insurance, So
wait, I didn't know you had a GoFundMe. Where can we send people, Oscar?
Yeah, I'm just setting it up now, and it's not a GoFundMe. It's just you basically just go on all my socials. I'll put down the banking details, and they can do it. You see, the bottom line, I'm not going through anything, because I'm not. All the money is just going to my friend who will minister it. So I've got nothing to do it, because otherwise, I'm drinking champagne. They say, "Oh no, geez, I've just GoFundMe. I give him like $10, and he's drinking Dom Perignon." So no, this is completely separate. It's nothing to do with me. When the bills come, they pay it, and I know I've got so much support from around the world, and in South Africa. And again, and there's no amounts or anything. It's just going straight to the medical, and they'll sort it out. That's why I didn't want to get involved. Friends are doing it, basically keep Oscar alive, and I say, and I know the problem with this disease. Every time I think I've got it beat, it comes back and tries to beat me up again. But
yeah, it's so fun. And the thing about having cancer, now that I've gone through it twice, is when you go through it again, you know what's coming. Like they're putting you on the chemo, and you know what's coming. And I feel very fortunate, very lucky. And every time, I have this new lease on life again, right? I never stop training. I still work out as if I have an event coming up, and I don't compete in anything anymore. And, after my last time around, I've told this story several times on my podcast, but one day, every day I would either get on my rowing machine. I'm pointing right over here because my rowing machine is right next to me. I would get on my rowing machine, and boy, it looked pathetic, right? I thought about getting my paddle erg out, and it's like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm not going to I don't have the energy to pull it out and set it up. But I got on my Concept 2, and it was pathetic. Some days I couldn't even do that. So I would get on my spinner and just roll the wheel. It's like, is this really spinning if I'm just moving the wheels around? And one day I was on the floor stretching after a good round of chemo. I was doing calisthenics on the floor on my yoga mat. And I said, let me see how many push-ups I can do. And I got to 4. I made the 4th. When I got to 3, I went, oh, fuck, I got to get to 5. I got to get to 5. And when I got the 4th one up and went down for the 5th one, I crashed into the floor. That was it. And I started laughing, and I went, okay, this is where I am right now. And it's amazing how quickly you get there, right? A month earlier, for chemo, it's amazing how quickly these drugs will take you down, just drop you to your knees, right? And I made a commitment that not only will I climb Mount Whitney, it's the highest point in the lower 48 every year with my buddy. And we just lollygag up 13, 14 hours. We talk, we piss. I literally stop on the trail and pull out a little thing, and with the little mocha pot, I make coffee. We call it Starbucks on the mountain. I make coffee on the way up. I make coffee on the way down. 14 hours round trip. But I said, you know what? I need to get back to where I'm doing this. So we're doing a thing called Project 10, up and back in 10 hours, right?
Sure.
So I'm looking around at VO2 max. I'm looking around at all the things I used to do. Right before I started this podcast, I just pulled one of those assault bikes through the door. It's in the box right next to me. If I can move my camera, I'd show it to you. I have an assault bike. I have my rowing machine. I have my spinner, and I have a mountain 8 miles away. And that's what I'm doing this winter. I'm getting my VO2 max back to where it was. I'm getting my strength back to where it was. I'm doing everything I have to do because, as you would say, no retreat, no surrender, right?
Exactly. Yeah, mine's a little bit different because I'm permanently on chemo. I've never, ever come off chemo. And I've got a big problem. So this is for your listeners again. So even when I got this diagnosis, eventually came out of hospital, every time I got up, my body said, you can't get up. And I'm talking, so I'd shake, and I'd just wait, and then I'd walk. I walked every 2 or 3 kilometers or miles every single day. And again, my body was saying, you can't do it. You're going to fall over. I never fell over, and I just kept on doing it. Just 2 or 3 miles or 1 mile, 2 miles. And I kept on doing it, because if you don't do it, if you don't do the exercise, you are going down. And especially me, and I'm on permanent chemo. So to give you an example, Vinny, if I walk up 4 flights of steps, my heart rate goes to 160. I've got no oxygen.
Wow. Yeah, doesn't it drive you nuts knowing that you're one of the greatest athletes in the world and taking a few stairs? I had a problem walking downstairs. I'm still holding on to the railing because, it's almost like the gravity still messes with you because of the chemo somehow. Yeah. Like gravity is pushing you down. You said you try to get out of bed and you got to sit there for a minute and compose yourself.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm not on lifetime chemo, so I'm coming out of it.
Yeah.
And, I remember I had to fly to California for business. They made me go in to check, you got to check the platelets, the neutrophils, all these words I don't even understand or know.
I know all those words.
And you're looking at your, because all I'm looking at is like, let me see where my hematocrit level is. And, I'm usually at a fancy level up in the high 40s, right? 31. And I'm like, I don't even have red blood cells, right? And it's like, they're worried about neutrophils and me getting an infection from someone sneezing on me. And I'm looking at my hematocrit going, how do I get this number back where it used to be? It's amazing what we do as athletes, it's.
And funny enough, tomorrow is going to be my first gym session, because before I was bad, I was walking 5 miles, 4 to 5 miles, and I was doing 30 to 40 sit-ups or 60 sit-ups, 60 push-ups, dips, all that stuff, and then it just stopped. And now tomorrow I'll start again. Actually tomorrow, because I just, number one, I want to get rid of all this stuff to get it out of the system. So swimming, because I'm always got neuropathy, so I've got no circulation because I've got no oxygen, and that's the problem with my disease. But again, you've got to do it. You've got to exercise, and you've got to eat right, and all those things. And you don't want cancer to rule you. So I will go and have a glass of champagne, which is the best, got the lowest amount of sugar and things like that. And I don't have too much alcohol. And then if I have a bit, I have a lot of water. I have to have a lot of water to clean my kidneys and liver out.
I've just given up alcohol altogether right now. It's not like I'm not going to go back. And you see, I never touch any like sugary stuff, fermented, meaning wine and beer. Except, I have that rule whenever I'm in England and I'm looking at my sister-in-law, I have wine because she's got really good wine, right? So I make an exception whenever I'm looking at Kristen. But other than that, I just leave it alone because I just want to stay as clean as possible right now. It's just the way I am.
And I can see it because I actually follow it on my watch. And if I drink alcohol, I know straight away that it affects me. And because I try and keep my training readiness at like 100. And then if I have alcohol, I can go all the way down. And if I have a big night, it'll go down to 10. And now you got to recover, And
not good. Not good. Oscar, I wanted to bring up one more thing. And you mentioned it when you were talking about business in China. And I remember thinking this, and it just popped in my head. But it can also work when we're talking about health, right?
Yes.
You talk about this phrase, riding the tiger. Tell that story. You were talking about it as far as business goes, but, I talk to a lot of morbidly obese people. I talk to a lot of people who can't get off the couch. Talk about riding the tiger, if you don't mind.
Well, and as I say, the end of the day, and that's what life's all about. You think you're doing well, and you're riding this tiger, and yes, of course, it's going to buck you off at any time, and you've got to, and then sometimes you just got to get off and cut your losses, and realize that there's more to life than pushing yourself to the limits all the time. And again, the old story is, Vinny, you've got to get that 8 hours sleep.
Yeah.
You've got to change directions. You've got to do it different ways. When I'd won my 12th Molokai at 49, I did so many different things that people did. I never drank water or food on the race for 3 hours, 23 minutes.
Wow.
Because I knew if I took any water or food, my body would go from the muscles to digest that stuff. And I said, I haven't got it. And over 352 kilometers, 32 miles, I won by 14 seconds from Clint Robinson because I'd done the 10 kilograms in my boat. I'd been training in a full wetsuit in 100 degrees heat. I'd lost 40 pounds.
Yeah.
I trained with no water. I fasted all the time. And when I raced that race, I was in a fasted state. So I had my whole body working you've got to change the way. To understand this for your listeners, to realize that when I won that race at 49, I couldn't do one pull-up.
Yeah.
The guy came second, Clint Robinson, who won in 1992 at the Barcelona Olympics. He can do 1,000. I can't do one. How does a 49-year-old beat this 30-year-old? It's with brains and thinking differently. And it's the same in business. It's the same in sport. And it's the same in health. And again, we think, and you also part of the keto, it's only been around 14 years. It should have been around 100 years. That should be the norm. But it's not.
Yeah, and you do mention, well, he's your good friend. He's only an acquaintance of mine, Dr. Tim Noakes, who's done more studies on this than anyone else. And folks, the book is worth every bit. I mean, you're going to love it from beginning to end. Like I said, if you're reading the first couple of chapters and you're going, I don't know who this guy is, and I don't know why he's just talking about these races, this book will take you on. It's like riding a bull. It's like you're in the PBR and you're riding a bull and you can't let it go. This book can change your life. It's called No Retreat, No Surrender. It's in the Vinnie Book Club right now. You can go there. Since I read it, it's in the club. I approve of it. You can go straight to Amazon. You can go right to Audible. You got some free books you could get on Audible. They give you all these extra credits. I got mine with extra credits right there on Audible. It didn't cost me a dime. I would have paid triple for it. It was that good. It meant that much to me. Oscar, I'm going to have you back in a year because you know what? I know you're going to still be here.
That's going to be a big miracle. And from your lips to God's ears, that happens. It's going to be a miracle. And believe me, I believe in miracles. I've had a few already, and I'm going to keep pushing. I'm not going to let you down. Let's make this date. This is on the 25th of November, 2024. It'll be 5 years that they gave me 6 months, so that's 5 years. There's a couple of weeks time. I'm about my 5th year of surviving, and I'd love to make it a 6th year. It's going to be very difficult, but I'm going to try.
Yeah, no, you're not going anywhere, brother. Let me say goodbye to the audience, but then you need to hang on because we need to upload this. You know, you got to hang on for just a couple of minutes. Folks, you know what to do. We all go shopping on Amazon. Before you go to Amazon, go to VinnieTortorich.com. Click through the banner. It puts coal on the fire, gets my train down the track. Amazon is where you're going to find the book, No Retreat, No Surrender by Oscar Chalupsky. Go there right now and get it. You know what to do there. So without any further ado, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and do it with enthusiasm.